Welcome everyone to the Asian Banker live session. Today we are very pleased to be speaking with Mr. Vijay Shekhar Sharma, founder and CEO of Paytm, perhaps the largest e-commerce and e-payment player in India. And today there are many topics that we want to discuss with Paytm, and joining us on the Asian Banker side we have our Editor-in-Chief, Mr. Emmanuel Daniel, and also our Head of Research, Ms. Upshi Ghosh. And I am Fu Boon Ping, the Managing Editor of the Asian Banker. And today we'll be touching on many areas with Vijay.
Okay, thank you very much for speaking to us, Mr. Sharma. There's a lot of developments taking place in India right now on the payments front. And Paytm is both a beneficiary as well as a builder of the infrastructure for the digitization of Indian payment infrastructure. Let me ask you this as a preliminary question. Did you see this coming in terms of the government's aggressive push to digitize payment? Being one of the 2 or 3 major payment companies already in the field at that time, was the government talking to you before they executed their strategy?
Okay, so thank you for having me here. It's truly a privilege and an honor. So, in India, government did not talk to anyone, and obviously as a payment company, we were also taken by a surprise when we got to know. And at Paytm, we probably quickly interpreted it as an incredible opportunity for digital payments and financial services, instead of everybody else who thought this could be a great opportunity for black money erosion, which it did, but at the same point of time, at Paytm, we just didn't get any information earlier or later, but internally, we probably quickly converted it into a digital opportunity for India.
Right. And how prepared were you when that announcement came, and what needed to be done to further build infrastructure or to be able to scale very quickly? I noticed that people was an issue in that, so you've been hiring aggressively, but were you caught flat-footed on any ground in terms of your own infrastructure when the government announced that the withdrawal of the 2 currencies, notes, and then the encouragement of digital?
Yes, in fact, we were taken by a surprise and nearly half prepared if I was to take offline payments, that is in-store, in-shop payments using Paytm. And secondly, we were English app, not a local language app by that time. And for 1 week, we were still English language app. And third was that we did not have a large merchant sign-up team out there. So speaking of first element here, that offline payments using smartphones in India was still an early stage, and we were experimenting it in large cities. So some part of Delhi had it and some part of few other large cities have it, but it was not either well penetrated in these cities or beyond major 2 or 3 cities. So we immediately, I remember getting on a phone call with my team and saying, everybody who's a customer facing and in operations converts to a merchant sign-up team. So we immediately augmented out of multiple businesses that we do, literally 5,000 people team focused on going to merchants and going to every nook and corner in a large city, smaller city, and so on. And second, then we also did not have any government interfacing team actually. So we had a lot of requests from different states, different districts, and different departments like oil, like the electricity and utility supplies that could you come over and do our payment. So we quickly changed our organization structure and built a government interface formally for the first time. Otherwise, as a company, we only had a compliance person who would talk to a regulator or some government bodies, but there was no interface as a business interface with government till that time period. That was first part.
Yeah, but isn't the model supposed to be, at least aspirationally, a peer-to-peer payment model, which would have removed all this
automatically taken?
Correct.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. So the Paytm innovation is how to leverage P2P, peer-to-peer, as a method of commercial payment. And that's the crux of Paytm's payment is. So we knew that as a solution it is simple, but now the training, and remember, India is a local language speaking country, so training in local language then people did not have smartphone or internet connection, so they have a smartphone but not connection, or even have internet connection, they don't have app. And even if they have app, they do not know how to sign up. And if they have signed up, they do not know how to add money. And then bigger critical part was the merchant to understand that I can receive money using P2P. So we picked up QR code as a method because merchants were not very educated. So we created a do-it-yourself newspaper ad, and we created like a printed QR code stickers that merchant could take and download or self-serve or ask us, or cut on the shop our advertisement and place that to pay me, to pay this shop, send money to this phone number. So the intention was that we had to bring ton of merchant base and consumer base to learn how the P2P itself works. India did not have a P2P culture before demonetization or any large event happened. And we were anyways using it as a rail for payments.
Right. And so what was the result of the education process and the onboarding of the merchants? How many new merchants did you sign up since the announcement, and and how much transactions have gone through? And one question before that is that how does the payment infrastructure work hand in glove with the government identity initiative, the biometric identity initiative? Yeah.
Biometric identity. So let's put the context to the payment infrastructure of the banks first. Banks are obligated to open bank accounts, and they use traditional card payment network as a payment option. And they have an interbank payment system, which is created by NPCI in India, and that's it. So consumers have either a card-based payment option or a bank-led money transfer between bank account option. No formal or informal payment method between two consumers, fast speed transactions and so on existed. So first thing that we had to do was that we had to create concept of wallet clearly out there, that there is a concept that you can move money from your bank account and the wallet can be funded, and then wallet to wallet is a transaction. We immediately loaded so much of the banking infrastructure that loading money from a bank account to a Paytm account, from your bank account to a wallet, became so stressful for the bank that transaction failures grew from few single digits to large two digits, like up to 25% transactions were failing. And remember, in banking process, failing a transaction could also mean that it has not got completed as a communication, but the money has got deducted, so return paths always take longer. So consumers started to get worried about, oh, my money got deducted from bank account, but I do not see it in Paytm wallet. I do not know whom to ask for, and there was always queues of traffic on customer care panel of theirs or ours. So there was a lot of trust element that we had to bring, that your money is yours, it is safe, either with the bank or coming to us is still in the way, do not worry. So we created a lot of education network out there, do-it-yourself education, multilingual education. Volunteers were signed up. We created Paytm ambassadors, real-world people in colleges who could teach people, but this is how it works. We started to identify people that they are experts, and we endorse them, what they say is correct. And the flip side was that because we wanted to ride the P2P channel of training, education, person-to-person education, we started to get rumors created on the site. For example, like Paytm is a Chinese company. Oh, and Paytm charges 4% fee. Oh, and to my surprise, few banks felt that as if we are eating their lunch, so they did formal campaigns comparing Paytm to themselves and quoting us charging 4% fee, and they say that we don't charge that much fee, we charge less fee, while P2P, as every one of us is aware, is a 0% fee actually. There is no way that fee is being charged. And this was surprising when banks started to do formal campaigns against us. So we became like a target of banks also. But incidentally, I think what worked out for us was that user experience, like I suggested, multilingual, local language, and simplicity, and a scale of technology, which inherently we have not yet talked, but was massively scaling. To the question that number of transactions, I want to share the transaction volume. We, before demonetization, were doing in a month about 60 million transactions. And in the month of January, we just finished, we did around more than 200 million transactions which were payment transactions successful. Now, to give you a context, all debit card, credit card, and all POS machine issued by every bank in the country, meaning effectively all payment network, total number of transactions before demonetization used to be 189 million, 169 million, and post demonetization in December month there is 200 million. So Paytm has become equal and maybe a little more than all of the bank all cards issued there in the country. And this volume our platform handled very phenomenally well. Remember, these are the payment successful volume, but the total transaction platform volumes also are something else because there is a many requests of balance, passbook, and query. So I like to give you a little bit of context there also that we were handling our systems at a 500 to 600 TPS before, and our systems consistently since that day has been working on 5,000, 6,000, and peak volumes we handle are 20, 22,000 TPS, that is transaction per second. So 20,000 transactions of either balance check or login or a passbook or a payment request or some payment reconfirmation request for handling on a system.
Right.
So I think our technology is scaled well, but the kind of people interactions and the probably all kind of people taking advantage, disadvantage, and some people feeling uncomfortable is the kind of thing I believe the challenges that we face most.
Right. Now, is there a backtracking in terms of going back to the banks and reworking a win-win model? You obviously have put the banks on a defense. Instead of making them your partner, you've put them on notice that you are taking their lunch in terms of their own payment transaction customers. Is there a way to backtrack on that and rebuild some kind of a good ecosystem for everybody?
Yeah. I'm firmly believer that not just payment companies but financial services of a country depend on an incredible cohesive relationship between all players. And we as Paytm are the evangelizers. So we not only went to bank in advance before this, we also were talking and telling them that, look, use our technology, use our platforms. In case you need, we will also allow you to build something using our technology, or we will build it for you. So we've been very open-armed and open and willing and looking to partner with banks to give them the technology that we've created. But typically it happens that payment was not a big revenue maker any which ways for these banks. Payment was not treated as a primary role that we need to do something different because card networks were the primary way of payments. Mobile was good, but it was not so big. So it sort of came as a surprise to them also and surprise to us also that mobile payment became so big for a bank. And now they did not have such comprehensive strategy in advance, so they were at a taking back stage. Obviously, the reactions that came, which were a little bit of hostile in some cases, and in many other cases, they were very friendly. So we are partnering with many banks and large banks included in private sector, many banks in public sector, where we are helping them build mobile payment strategies.
Right,
we are helping them build apps for mobile payments, actually.
Okay,
so
but
our
if you
belief
don't,
is that Paytm is a technology company. We can help everyone.
Yeah, but if you don't have SBI as a partner, that affects the perception very, very strongly in India, I'm sure.
Yeah. So I think personally, you just correctly touched it where I feel uncomfortable about why SBI believes that we are doing something which is eating their lunch. I believe we are adding to their customer base because we pay SBI every time when a money comes from SBI to Paytm, Paytm pays at least 1%, which means SBI has already taken the commercial value of it, which is the transaction would have happened. Now what we are doing with it is that we are creating a easy to transact payment method. So one point of time, we and SBI were closely in relationship. SBI used to promote Paytm on their ATM network and otherwise in branches, suggesting because we were the largest digital transaction on SBI network. I give you an interesting percentage here. India has built a payment network called RuPay, which is primarily issued to SBI and many other companies. I mean, PSUs bank issue cards of RuPay. RuPay's 52% transactions are only with single merchant called Paytm. Now, we are not a payment instrument here. We are calling ourselves as a merchant, which means that we are giving money to RuPay, we are giving money to all banks, any which way here.
Yeah, and then on top of that, you've complicated things by in announcing your own banking
payment bank.
Yeah, so
yes, I think somewhere that has been a little bit of keyword because now the payment customers can potentially become a payment bank customer, even if we are not allowed to hold a large amount of CASA deposits. We still can take large number of deposits as a consumer base, and India's average CASA balance anyway is 40,000, so the limit given to us is 2.5 times of what an average balance is. So we effectively, I think this is where a little more uncomfort is, but at the same point of time, this also puts us into the one point of time we were in a regulatory arbitrage, if you will.
Yeah,
because
but
a lot of people said that as a fintech company and as a payment company, you are feather touch regulated versus we are regulated stringently. And now we becoming bank, we will be fully regulated just like what everybody else will be. So in a way, it's a coming up to their club. At the same point of time, coming up to the club includes the obligations.
Yeah,
and
but why don't you take the approach of maintaining your CASA accounts, in the banks, as a trustee or something like that?
Actually, what you're suggesting is what we're doing. Some of the nationalized bank, universal bank, large private banks, everybody is our partner. We are actually partnering with them to create a mirror account. We are creating, let's say, a feeder account. So let's say if a customer is using banking more than the limits, we immediately open that customer's account into another bank. So what you're suggesting is actually what is happening here on ground. And we are also creating wealth management products which are issued by banks. Except that we can't work with every bank because only a few banks can partner in this scenario. And we are in deep partnership with many few banks. We aren't public yet, but yes, that is where it is. Now the problem with some other banks which are aggressive and which are, let's say, have not partnered is again that they believe that, we are still in another camp.
Yeah, but I mean, escrow accounts, the idea is...
The payment escrow, yeah. Escrow accounts are today already kept in a ICICI Bank, which is largest bank, and it was in Kotak Bank, and ICICI Bank is holding a large escrow amount.
Yeah.
Over the period when we become payment bank, it's a RBI obligation that we have to hold it in our bank, but we are still going to use ICICI Bank's money transfers protocol. We are going to use some of the other nationalized banks' fixed deposit capabilities, treasury management, cash management operations. So we are incidentally a customer to a lot of these banking products given by every bank in the country. That's exactly how we are treating it. We believe we are a friend to every bank because we add to the ecosystem. Yeah. We add technology, we add new customer base, we add new type of ways the business can lead us.
So
we aren't taking anybody's
lunch for you do sound a little ambitious because you're saying to the banks that eventually you're going to hold the escrow account under your own bank license if the regulator gives you that license. At the same time, you're saying to them, trust you. So it's interesting. I mean, you seem very confident that the banks will eventually, that you will become ubiquitous as a payment platform.
I also want to suggest a very interesting metaphor here. As a technology company, are we a financial services company becoming a technology company, which every bank today is wanting to be, and they are the large technology customers? We are a technology company who are building software and technologies for the banking financial world, and we also have consumer ability. Now, let me give you a metaphor here. If a retailer, let's say Walmart, Macy's, 7-Eleven, wants to build a technology, and if Amazon offers the technology that I have built technologies for consumers, you could use this technology, I personally believe it will be better for every retailer to use the technology and systems created by Amazon versus creating their own systems.
Yes.
And if I also want to acknowledge here, the business model of technology companies are not in the same sequencing of value creation as exists for a banking company or retailer company there. For example, like 7-Eleven makes money or Macy's makes money when somebody is buying a good which they have bought it at a lower price. So supply of this dress, X price, X plus delta X to the consumer. That's the open a store on us, and so can 7-Eleven open a store. It's traffic.
Right.
Give us money because you are here. So it's a mall versus a shop retailer experience.
Right.
Exactly in the same, I could say that any which way is banked by technology from other IT service providers.
Right. Now, the problem with what you're saying, the problem with what you're saying is that in the traditional interchange model, that is that's a very logical development. But as we go into apps and we go into bots, the whole interchange model starts breaking down, and actually each of your players can create ecosystems around themselves where there is no interchange. It's an on-us transaction for every transaction, sort of as technology
I agree.
moves. Yeah,
that's exactly the opportunity and challenge and threat that technology brings.
Yes.
And I so much agree, and you are perfectly the editor because I can see it happening. A lot of banks are not understanding or accepting this. So it is time that banks, let me give you another industry metaphor where I come from, which is telecom. Earlier, telecom operator was the voice provider, data provider, SMS provider, music provider, service providers. And then came the smartphones, which allowed music. First, the music was being served by, let's say, a new app on the App Store. Then, SMS was being served. And now, even the call is being served using an app. So, effectively, telecom operator became the place where the connectivity comes from, not the services come from. Now, imagine what if scenario, banks, if they do not go quickly towards these services, they would become the place where the deposits come from.
Right.
But the lending, insurance, credit, payments, whatever the pieces are, they are like apps on top of a phone. They're like services on top of a banking core platform or a deposit structure owned by its regional banks. And that's exactly the opportunity or threat is. Banks, I believe, has a ROFR in a way to build those consumer-savvy apps in partnership with companies who have built it. If Spotify goes to AT&T and says, let me build you a music service, it will be a better music service, then you try building it. And they are saying, no, you're fighting us, we will not use your service, but use our service. And that's where I think is a little bit of uncomfort comes, because as an incumbent, there are certain things that are done incredibly well, and as a fresh new player, there are certain newer different things that are done differently and maybe even more relevant and new.
All that is good.
Those people.
Yeah, all that is good, except that the banks would rather work with any other technology companies than you. If there was.
I understand. My understanding is, let me say this. Inherently, any other technology company which does not have consumers will build technology with a lag of 2 years at least, because somebody who has consumers is building a continuous technology, is understanding what technology is to be built, versus somebody who will build it after this first technology becomes successful. So now wallet can be created by every bank. It is not a concern.
Right.
Except that wallet consumer is already using some other app, and you have to outrun and outpace the innovation of that some other person who's building it.
Right.
So it is, let's remember, banks will not lose in the whether they will have equal, same, superior technology or not. They will, except that they will have it after 2 years when the technology is.
So now let's move on to the supply chain ecosystem and the other ecosystems that are where payments is really the last mile. In India, how are your efforts trying to be part of, say, for example, social media or online retailing, where there's a different conversation taking place and where you're the last mile in that transaction. What are you seeing evolving, especially after the digitization of money in India, in terms of the take up for online, offline, for consumer behavior and so on? And what are you seeing in terms of opportunities for yourself? And maybe there a little bit also about your relationship with the telcos and how are you developing relationships with them on that front?
Yeah, I think this is a very good question because I understand that what we saw is something totally different, and we really saw it first happening because we were seeing it internally. Before November month, our online transactions were constituting more than 90%. So 93, 94% depending on the month and the volume that we see. And the offline transactions were primarily driven by incentives like a cashback or a reward that customer is getting, and not as primarily as a great convenience driver. In other words, that offline was not yet there when consumers were choosing us in a store. And now in the month of January, that number has tilted to 63% from offline. So offline now is like so much that yesterday my finance team raised an alert. We got 100 crore incremental deposit, which is ahead of the average in one day, and back to back in 2 days, we saw incremental extra deposit of 100 crore, which is a large in this country. Remember, average wallet balance is a couple of hundred, so we are talking about 1 crore, that is 10 million wallets trying to load money, and extra money has been added. Because the month-end limit reset happened on the 1st of February. So what we're talking here is that after demonetization, offline to online payment, that is offline store payment which are used using app, have gone so phenomenally high that some places we've even accounted for as large as 20% of total transaction value, including even when the balance is driven by other payment options.
Right.
And as far as the online is concerned, cash on delivery was the primary confusion. So I will give you a lump sum number here. 60% cash on delivery, 20%, 15 to 20% wallets, and another 15 to 20% cards.
Right. But what are some of the deals that you might be making right now to benefit from this offline, or not say benefit, but to plug into this offline demand right now?
One of the things that we're seeing is that offline demand is expanding beyond cities to small cities, large merchant to smaller merchant. I'll give you another data point here. Towns which are less than 100,000 population, effectively the more or less towns which I'm talking are 50,000 population.
But is it just a matter of setting up a website and giving them the option of making
No.
Like what you did during the telco? That's how you started your business, didn't you?
Yeah, that's right. The business I started exactly like what you suggested, building an app and website and expecting people to come and doing a little bit of online marketing. But here we have to go in person to the shop. We have to explain the method, and they always ask, what if this money has come and I'm not able to use, how can I take it somewhere? So one of the most critical thing I want to tell you, this is the learning that we found when we were retrospectively looking at learning we have seen, is that Paytm Wallet created a whole ecosystem around itself, from commerce to the utilities to the P2P to the money transfer to everything a money can do, as much as you want to do, except that we are not letting you make it convert into physical cash. So Paytm today can allow you to live a complete life cycle of a month using only money in the Paytm account. And you don't need to use a card, you don't need to use any other thing, and you can go to a street food vendor, you can go to a large restaurant, or you can pay utilities and you can take petrol pump, gas station. That I think, and school fee. So our attention to number of use cases and the depth of that use case probably is the reason that ecosystem of that got created, which created a network effect. And the shopkeeper was, give you another data here. If 100 rupees are collected by shopkeepers combined into their Paytm wallet as a payment in P2P method and this QR code scan method that we're talking about, as high as 90% of that is consumed back in the Paytm ecosystem, not taken to the bank. Only 10% is taken to the bank.
Right, but those are closed ecosystems that you've successfully created where both parties Paytm users.
Well, I think you may think of it as a close, but it is always available at a zero cost for customer to take money out. So it actually is a peer ecosystem. I would say a bank blocks your money.
Your competitors might disagree, but also on that point,
I agree, and I think I will say that bank blocked money heading to Paytm.
Yes.
Paytm never blocked money taken to the bank.
Yes. So what are your conversations with telcos like? Because when you say offline, the customers understand telco prepaid, right? So why can't you sell into that model?
So telco model of prepaid is the model of money distribution in the best case scenario, that consumer wants to deposit money in the telco wallet. It goes through a dealer supply chain network, and finally the telco consumer is paying money which has been purchased. So dealer purchase money from telco, they give it to super dealer distributor and so on. And that, I think, the telco discussion will be very useful in our banking ecosystem, where we have also expanded leveraging telco relationship, that we will offer recharge distribution opportunities to everyone. So, I mean, did we talk to telcos? No. The telcos wanted to talk to us. Well, they were happy that their data is being utilized, but we couldn't give anything to them. Anyways, I'm sure you know this. Nearly every telco in India has their own Paytm equivalent wallet or a bank, Paytm payment bank like a bank. So now the partnership gates there were also half closed. Why am I saying half closed? Not fully, because they probably understand that we are a technology company and they wanted us to build some more technologies for them. And we are working with some of them. So there is a little bit of respect, because we come from telco background, where Paytm's parent 197 has been a technology partner for telcos for tens of years already.
Right.
So telcos more open than banks, but nothing more that we can do but offering technology options.
Right.
And we didn't use any telco distribution system to create our recharge or payment system, by the way. We created our own obligation, and we now, typically a telco has 600, 700,000 points.
As the technology evolves, how do you think you need to play this?
Because 3 to 4 times bigger than, actually 5 times bigger than the telco distribution in the country already.
Right. But as the technology evolves and it becomes even more open, how do you think you need to play into this? And also, the payment component needs to be embedded into apps, into social media platforms, and so on. So that will be another phase altogether.
Correct. I think you beautifully are pointing out towards what we believe is going to be the next evolution, what we believe going to be the next potential disruption point or an opportunity point either way. So we've become very cognitive, and we have opened our SDKs and we have literally I think couple of hundred merchants which are developers who are using our SDKs to take payment into their apps. And some of them are social apps, and we look to partner with large dominating social apps in the country. But to be honest about it, there is no such discussion that has materialized yet where the large deployed social network is using us yet. But other payment options like Google Play and other app stores, they are in conversations where we are trying and explaining them how can we become a payment option on those. So not necessarily in social, but in app store world, yes, we are there, and app developers are using us, and hopefully social networks too. And this is truly the correctly pointed next point for us.
Right. Now, take a hypothetical situation where the government's initiative to build a unified payment interface works, and they can do instant payment on a shared platform that all the banks have access to. Do you think that such a scenario will happen? Or do you think that Paytm should be that platform anyway? Or do you think that precisely because it doesn't work, that the Paytm proposition is going to be dominant?
Good question. First of all, I believe that honest and network both coexist in the end. So there are times when network works better, there are times when honest works better. Obviously, honest, if expanded well, can supersede the network. If honest company like Amex in past had an opportunity, like Paytm today is talking that opportunity, if it can expand to really incredible large number of acquirers, we're talking a great opportunity beyond networks there. So I personally believe as Paytm, we do have a large opportunity there. Talking about a large interbank payment system, bank account to bank account payment system has an inherent mistake of understanding that this is a payment system. People treat bank account to bank account transfers as money transfers, and they do not want to expose all of the bank account to the transaction, and that is exactly the reason a lot of debit card transactions have not yet grown, even if the demonetization happened. Because people are uncomfortable opening their bank account to somebody, every shop carrying their bank account details, and some mistake and your bank account money is disappearing. So I believe bank account to bank account is not a payment system. That is why subset of a bank account, maybe wallet, maybe credit card, is more preferred as an option. And then because it is subset, so it can offer many other benefits, while the bank account can't yet offer.
Yeah.
Secondly, the network itself is fundamentally the problem because network is costly. There is a three-party system, issuer, acquirer, and network, and there are two parties finally after that. So these three parties have a cost obligation. In the Paytm environment, only us has a payment of cost obligation. So we can give commercials which just can't be matched ever by network. So UPI is a great tool. We will use it as a Paytm payment bank and leverage it to transfer money from and to the Paytm bank account. But can UPI match the pricing of Paytm and the scale of Paytm? To scale, different banks have to get committed. And to the pricing, it just can't. Logically, it is three different players involved. So they can't, three of them decide this is zero. While Paytm believes that MDR in future will be not zero but negative.
Right. Ambitions to provide this cross-border?
Yes, we are working. Yes, we will provide cross-border. Paytm wallet will allow you to pay in Hong Kong dollar, Singapore dollar, and RMB and US dollars. Yes, this is very simply possible because of the API interconnection in a parallel world that is creating a.
No, so are you cross-border already, or do you have a date when you'll be?
Not yet.
Are you
we are not yet because the wallet is issued in Indian currency and obligated settlement in Indian currency. While once we become bank, then we will use a bank account connectivity to do multi-currency transactions.
But do you have is it within sight? Like, have you started the application processes?
Yes. Yeah. We are a bank and we have a multi-currency license and we are applying for AD. Multi-currency cross-border is an important role in our business.
There were some issues in terms of trademarks between you and PayPal. How is that kind of being resolved currently? And how do you see that as you cross border? We haven't brought into the discussion your partnership with Alipay. If you go cross border, is it riding on Alipay or Paytm?
Yeah, so first thing about the trademark.
Yep.
First of all, it sounds totally surprising for me. One point in time, Paytm went to PayPal to raise money with the same logo, colors, and logo that we are sitting here with. So they never told us they wanted to invest. They could not give a term sheet in time. So probably just in case. That's a fact as a corporate fact.
Right.
Second point, Paytm is a brand in India, and Paytm is many times bigger brand in India, agnostic of whether it uses a word called Pay, which many other payment services use in the world, including a Paytm exists in US as a brand already by Chase Bank. When they don't have a problem with Chase Bank brand called Paytm in the United States, when they don't even have such large operation, or I do not know what kind of operations they're having a problem, is truly not a correct thing, I believe, that should have been attempted at the time when we were going through this moment. That said, finally Trademark Authority gave us the trademark ownership and we have it with us. So Paytm is a trademark acknowledged by law of the land, belongs to us. And as far as anybody tells us that just because you're using pay as a primary word, first word, Paytm stands for pay through mobile. I don't think that anybody has the same word in any sense whatsoever. So that just puts us aside on that. Talking about cross-border, we are going to leverage partnerships with Alipay. We are going to leverage our partnerships with other money transfer and cross-border companies. So effectively, Paytm will be a mash of multi-partner cross-border opportunity, not just singly Alipay.
But the model that you've described is precisely diametrically different from Alipay as it is becoming global. And in the case of Alipay, they have no ambition to set up a bank and so on.
Yeah, that's right. I know. That's what I was telling you. That is why our modeling of the business is not necessarily nearly replica, reflected, or any which ways with Alipay. Actually, let me be very candid about it. They're great partners. There's a great amount of learning in the geography of China. We do our business. We are a great support from them and learning from them. And obviously, what happens in India is within the borders, law of the land, and guided by Indian law and regulators. And while What happens in China is guided by the local regulator there. So these are two businesses with ambitions are same: inclusion, expansion, payment as a primary mode. Ambitions are same, but methods are different.
Final question: with the money that you're getting in as from your investors, and also you've alluded to the fact that you had the capacity to absorb the scaling up of the transaction volume, and we noticed that you've got a number of very prominent key staff from ex-RBI, ex-foreign banks, and so on. How's your cost to income structure? Do you break it down to cost per transaction level, that actually you might be burning a lot more money right now that needs to absorb the volume, the scaling up of the organization first before you open new fires in different places of your business?
Okay, so let me tell that as a technology company how I look at our company, and then I'll share the pricing mathematics that we look at it. So I look at ourselves as a technology company, and the primary cost being people and servers. The company paying servers, cloud, internet connection, and number of people who are doing the work, like writing a new program, or sometimes as a sales people that we're calling. So our business model is built around this is not to be factored when we factor our financial performance, because once the technology is made, there is a different number of people you require. Once the technology has expanded, there is a different number of people you require. So we factor everything that is cost of a transaction, like of NDR, of paying to the sourcing, bank funding cost, or any cashback, any marketing, anything that we do there to incentivize consumer or to the business. All those costs are direct costs that we treat in this mathematics that I'm going to share. In the month of December, we were contribution positive, which means all marketing, all funding, etc., combined, we made money. What we did not make money, like I told you, was of people cost and technology servers and internet cost, which I believe in long term we will keep it like that. Our investment is people, our investment is server and technology, our outcome is the technology, and that we are treating it as an infrastructure capex spend. The rest of the business cost must get earned, and we already have started earning all those costs. So I treat it as an operating contribution break-even. Operating break-even, we are committed that we will continue to put the money back in the business. In the bank also, we are taking a commitment to ourselves that we do not have an obligation to make profits. We have an obligation to make all the profits back into the bank so that we can do the financial inclusion and expansion of our reach in the country at places where the viability is totally not possible. But we have a commitment and vow to us that we will definitely make it 500 million customers.
Okay,
so here,
500 million.
Business model is built around that net.
Right, so 500 million customers gives you the scale required to justify your running costs, but your CapEx cost is very interesting. What you're saying is that by keeping your CapEx costs out of the picture, you are eventually going to justify it by not just by the transactions, but also by the number of customers you get. So I'm sure that also means that your salespeople going to the respective banks and trying to persuade them to use you as a vendor.
Yes, I agree. And people to us and technology costs are those kind of costs which I said we will every month continue to increase actually. And that is not the cost that we will ever bother about, because those are variable costs, and once some great technology comes out, that becomes a platform for future. And technology businesses are interesting. Once a successful platform is there, they start generating free cash any which way. Right. Facebook, Google, Apple, everybody.
Yeah, but so we should be measuring you on client breakthroughs. So, you've got, one bank or one financial institution that uses you as a vendor, and then another one, and you don't have anything to announce on that front.
No, we don't yet, because not many banks are using. There are small banks, there are some large banks, but we don't, like I said, are looking at them as a revenue modeling primarily. I think we are in the business, this may sound altruistic, but I truly believe in this. That is, I'm lucky to have shareholders and investors who truly believe that as an opportunity. I believe we have an incredible opportunity in front of us to bring financial inclusion to the nook and corner of the country, which unparalleled, unlike anything that happened before. In this country, the accounts have been opened on a government motive, but those consumers haven't been served. So unserved and underserved is our primary objective, and we believe that we will be able to reach there. And that is why we can say, like I said in the starting of this interview, that banks should think we are a great friend for them because we bring new things to the table, not take away something that they have. They never bothered about payment. Why are they thinking that we're taking away something else from them? They never built it any which ways.
If I may have one question, could you also comment on the latest news on the latest round of fundraising that you're getting from the market? And the last valuation that we have of Paytm is 2 billion, but a lot have happened since demonetization. What is the latest in terms of your valuation?
Okay, so let me share this, that the valuation that you have is of the last year.
Yeah.
In this year, August, we raised, I think not large, but about 50 million or some number like that at a 4.8 billion value. So this is August, and we have not done any investment, and we have enough money in the bank. So we have not done any round post or as we speak in the monetization days. So our August 2016 valuation was 4.8 billion.
Vijay Sharma, thank you very much for spending time with us.
Thank you everyone. It was an incredible conversation, and I must acknowledge that the conversation was at correct points, correct conversations, and I'm truly honored that I could have a conversation with all of you. Each one of you is a rock star whom I look to see when I see you in a conference.
Okay, great. Thank you.